What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
How do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
We are here because we are frustrated with the fact that our Native children are still being subjected to the system of the Oklahoma State Department of Human Services. For those of you that do not remember, last year the council voted to not enter into a contract with the state of Oklahoma for them to have our kids right after the McGirt ruling, and was promptly told that the mandate hadn't been issued in McGirt, and if they didn't enter into the contract, that the McGirt ruling might be overruled. So they were strong-armed into signing this contract with the state last year over the concurrent jurisdiction for the state of Oklahoma to keep our kids, our native Muskogee kids, in their custody and care. What that has meant so far this last year has been that our families have suffered at the hands of child welfare workers that twist things around, they lie, they don't work with our native people to understand the cultural differences or the struggles that they're going through, while our own nation's child welfare workers do nothing to help our families with these services. And we're frustrated at the fact that because of that lack of assistance, our families are still being torn apart. The Indian Child Welfare Act was enacted in 1978 to keep our native families together. And by signing away our kids to the state of Oklahoma and letting them do whatever they want and just rubber stamping it, flies in the face of the Indian Child Welfare Act and what it was intended to do. Today we're here to say enough is enough. And I could speak all day about some of the things my clients have seen, such as a client that had a DUI misdemeanor from 20 years ago. The state of Oklahoma wouldn't let him have his kids because of the DUI on his record. I came to this department asking, can you stand up for this Muskogee member and help him? You know, if you stood up for him with the state, maybe they would overlook that. That's nothing to do with a violent crime. That's nothing to do with child abuse. He should be able to get his children. They would not do that. Over and over again, I've come here asking for help to stand up for families, help the families, stand up in court even and say, our nation backs the family. Instead, they stand up and say, we back DHS. Well, I will say that as an attorney, there has been a few times that I have called this administration because a grandparent or a family member has said, hey, my kid was taken into foster care. Can you find out when the court date is so that we can be there? And they don't know exactly the case number, or they don't know, the particulars of the court hearing. And I call and I say, can you give me the case number and the hearing date so that the family can be there to try to see what they need to do to get the children back? Nope, privileged information. I'm like, well, how am I as an attorney supposed to help families if I can't even get a case number and a hearing date? I'm not asking for all the details, which, by the way, as an attorney, I can sit in the courtroom while all kinds of testimonies going on about families, because I know how to keep privileged information and confidential information confidential. We take an oath that we won't break the law by breaking that confidentiality, and the judges let us sit in there and hear testimony and hear how all kinds of cases can go. But our own nation can't give me a case number and a hearing date because it's confidential. I can't help a family if I don't know where to be or how to get into the case, can I? I had a person in prison reach out to me and ask me, I just want to know where my kid's at. I don't know where she's at. I've been sentenced to 5 years. I don't know where she's at. I just want to know where she's at, where I can reach her. I reach out to our Indian Child Welfare Department. Confidential information. Can't tell me anything. And I'm like, well, can you at least reach out to the person in prison and tell them where their child is and let me know? I never heard anything back. In this last year, since this contract was signed, and I want everyone to know that our nation went to the United States Supreme Court and bartered our children away. They gave our children to the state in return for getting the McGirt ruling. Both in writing and in oral testimony, they said everything's great with the state of Oklahoma Department of Human Services. We don't need any changes. We'll just let the state keep them if you'll give us the McGirt ruling. And what have they done with the McGirt ruling? Nothing's been expanded. They haven't expounded on the McGirt ruling in any kind of way except have a commission that spent a lot of money and came out with some recommendations. Woohoo. They gave our kids away for nothing. And now, when you try to transfer a case back to the tribe, the Attorney General's office objects to it because we have a contract with the state to let them keep the kids. So the DHS caseworkers can lie, they can twist things, they can make false reports to the judge and the court, and there's nothing we can do about it because our nation says, we have a contract with the state, let them do it. We're sick of it. We want our kids home, back where they belong. We want our nation to fight for our families. We want our nation to get our kids back.
Hello for having us. My name is, my colonized colonial name is Sandy Williams. My given name is Chata Ngozi, Sleepy Red Bear. Yeah, this has been going on for a while, not just through the Muskogee Nation, but you know, since this McGirt ruling's happened, it's affected everybody. You know, not like I said, we've been having these rallies for kids, you know, for the missing kids that we're finding in these graves. Actually, there was a Seminole Creek baby that was found up there in Carlisle not too long ago, and we're trying to find raise funds to go up there and bring him home. And like I said, you know, with these papers that the government brings to us, you know, these are just mixed lies in their words. You know, it's always been that way. You know, and it's time that, you know, we all had enough. You know, we dwindle in little by little, but we're here. We'll show up when we need it. You know, like I said, we're here for our kids, and we need to bring them home. You know, I've known parents that, you know, that just have, you know, minor charges and get their kids taken away. You know, now, you know, they find every reason to. I had DHS call on my kids when they was at a daycare. My kids like to run around barefoot just like any other kid. You know, and you know, they went to daycare that happened that morning, and somebody called DHS that they had shit on the bottom of their feet. You know, they came, surprised us, and pulled up. You know, we had nobody to help us. You know, we sit there and fought this on our own. You know, it's because, you know, these papers they make us sign, and these papers that they tell us to sign, really, you know, they word them differently. They turn around and change their words again. You know, like I said, it's time, it's enough, and we need all of our people backing us. You know, even the ones who work for them. You know, find it in your heart. You know what's true. Stand up. You know you agree with what we're doing. Don't stand there and look at us and just like y'all don't know what we're talking about. There's plenty of y'all that know what's going on. Y'all heard those stories. And I wouldn't be sad. I would love to see y'all just come walk on this side and agree with us, you know, start trying to help us get all of us together. But I'm not much for words, and like I said, I'll probably have a lot more to say later on. But for having us, like I said, just we get enough's enough. We got to get them back. You know, like I said, we'll be here. You know, till we get them back. You know, we'll go to D.C. if we have to. But oh,
Stango, Hope Craig, Jahajit Kados. I'm actually here from California, and I came in because this is a very important message that we need to get out. It's the failure of our nation in protecting our children. I would like to share my story. About maybe almost 2 years ago, I have a niece and 2 nephews that were removed from their parents, and they were obviously put in foster care. And I reached out to the tribe. I was told by Chief Hill that there was a time where, and this is back in January because it was on my birthday, that there was a time that the tribe did intervene or oversee these cases, even out-of-state cases, because to me, no child should ever be left behind. As long as that's an Indian child, I don't care where you reside, you should never be left behind. I was told that they were going to do something. I was led on, and to find out, I was told by, at that time, Director Kimmy Wind, that they don't intervene in cases outside of the jurisdiction at that time. My heart was broken because at that time we were preparing for a case, or to go back to court to determine placement. And placement was determined into a home that my niece was molested in. So this is very near and dear to my heart, because this is what happens to our children. When this department don't do what they're supposed to do, that's what we're subjecting our children to, is this trauma that we're all, even as adults, we're carrying this trauma around because some of our parents have been in foster care or boarding schools. So fast forward, my niece was molested in that home. I pleaded with the tribe, please step in and make sure that they are enforcing, or that they're enforcing the mandates of ICWA for placement preference. Here I am, a Muskogee, who is saying that my home is open, and I had to fight for my niece and nephew to be placed with us without the help of our own department. No one helped me. I did it on my own. And here in California, we have something called the American Indian Unit. And what I want you guys to know is that they put that in front of us thinking that they're here for us. But when you go into a lot of these places like in California, there's no one that looks like us. There's no one that are Indian. That you have non-Indians that are in these quote-unquote American Indian units that are supposed to make sure that they are protecting our children. But what happens when the tribe does not stand up, that's where the failures start. And our children are being harmed, they're being traumatized. So it's time, and I'm tired of the excuses. We don't have resources. We don't have enough staff. We don't have this. Y'all have had 40 years to get this together. Indian child welfare was enacted in 1979. You've had 40 years. The people who fought for Indian child welfare, they have to be so disappointed in how it's being handled, because now it's being challenged. And if we lose that, it's a sad day for us. In addition to, it's part of being a sovereign nation. If we're not making decisions over our children, I want y'all to understand this. Sovereignty is not this word that we can just say because we're native. Sovereign is a word, it's a verb, it's an action. If we are not making decisions over our children, we are not a sovereign nation. We're just not. So for anyone to stand up here and tell you that we're sovereign, they are lying. They don't understand it, and I'm sick and tired of it. We have to know and today enough is enough. We have to stop and we have to stand up for us. Nobody is going to make sure we're okay. Nobody has ever gave a damn about us. We have to give a damn about us. And it's time to step up and use our voice. So when they come up and say, oh, we're here, we have open arms, have a discussion with us. Don't get up here and blow smoke and say, well, this is what we're trying to do. Again, you have 40 years to do it. 40 years. So when they sit here, they collect their checks, and they go home knowing that there's families that are being torn apart. There are children that are being mistreated. I really hope you sleep well at night. Because I know the work of my sister Brenda. I know I've had so many stories that come to me because I've been very vocal about my story. They're heartbreaking. They're absolutely heartbreaking. No child should ever be left behind. I don't care if that Muskogee child lives in California, Texas, New York. It is our responsibility as a sovereign nation to protect our children.
My name is April. My nieces and nephews are victims, and I've got 8 kids altogether that are victims here. My nephew was abused by the stepfather that is non-Native American, and my sister is enrolled through Creek, and they abused my nephew. They put over 117 bruises all over his body, and the stepdad molested my niece, and they got to walk. They're free, and they can get their kids back, and it's wrong because I've got Carmen on recording stating that they have no funds or resources taking 4 tribal kids. I begged them for 13 months. My 4 children, my ex-husband's raping his own daughter, my daughter right here, and getting away with it. And Judge Shannon Prescott went to my court hearing on the other case, came to that one every day, and then when it came down to my kid, she still let my kids go with him and be raped. And then she threatened me with these other kids. It's going to have an effect. Yeah. I just want justice for these kids because this ain't right. And then they're not charging him for a hate crime either. They're just letting him go. I mean, it's pretty bad. But here's my other person that's with me on this.
My name is Shoshana Fields, and I'm a victim of Okmulgee County court system, and I've been failed by my tribe. I've tried numerous of times to get ICWA involved. I've called Steve Warning's desk I don't know how many times. A lady named Carmen I spoke with probably about whenever this first happened, May 10th is whenever this happened. My boys were stolen. I dropped them off for a weekend visit, and I haven't seen them since. 2 birthdays I've missed. I've missed a lot. My boys don't even know if I'm dead or alive. She's lied to the court system, and she's lied to everyone, and I can't get nobody to help me. Nobody. I spent almost $4,000 on an attorney for what? We just got it moved to McIntosh County, whenever it should be right here within the tribe. I'm a Creek citizen. My children are Creek citizens. Where's my support? Where's my protection?
My name is Sandy Golden, and I just want to say that the problems that people are talking about has been going on for a long, long time. Exactly. I think Hope said we've had 40 years to get it right. Well, we're never going to get it right unless we admit that we're not doing it right. Yes! I've been dealing with this Indian child welfare right here in Creek Nation since 1999. I was called to be a foster parent. They needed a foster parent. But you know what? They apply the guidelines for the state instead of the Indian families. That's one reason why it doesn't work. And no matter what the parents do, no matter what they say, they don't have support. Right. No one believes them. I know. I have a son. I adopted him. But it was before him when I became the foster parent. And I fought for 2 years. I went to court by myself. When I got that little boy, he was 4 years old, and he weighed 27 pounds. And he had already had pneumonia twice. He was in a drug home. So now, that little boy is 25 years old, and he is a dad, and he takes care of his child. So we have to teach our young people, and we have to support our families. We have to support our parents. I no longer work for Creek Nation, but I still go to court with somebody who calls me and asks me. Right now, the reason I'm standing up is because there's 2 little girls. One's named Kalina and one's name's Cora. And I told their mom I would speak up for them today. So pray for our children and pray for our families. We can do this. We can do better. If we put our heads together, we can figure out the better way to do this. Our children are waiting for us. Our future depends on them, and we must do it. Thank you.
So we're going to let Brenda go in and have the conversation with Chief Hill and see what happens. But like I said, it's time for him to start having a conversation about how the failure of the car when it comes to protecting our children. Because we know that
I am
that
willing
much
to
is a
listen
fact.
to the concerns, but I got these two guys that write all your issues, concerns, and I'll check into it. But for me, I want to go back in.
And it's time for them to stand up and do their job and do what they're supposed to do under the mandates of Indian child welfare.
I told Brenda, I broke out of a meeting. I got 5 minutes before it took a little break, but I have two gentlemen over here that will write down the issues. I'm willing to listen to your concerns. And if you have any, please present it to these two. And I'll check into it. I know Nita's kind of waiting there telling her when I need to go back in, but what
Chief, we'd like for you to make the Indian Child Welfare Act a priority of your administration. Can you promise us that today?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you promise that we'll put more resources towards the Indian Child Welfare Department?
We're trying. We're even some of the departments are even looking into changing the codes.
Changing the
The
code?
codes to our codes to help in the child welfare.
Okay.
We're in
And
the process doing that.
what about the contract with the state? Do we have a timeline on transitioning our kids back into
Contract or the agreement?
the agreement?
Now, from what I understand, I'm not the best on that this agreement has been in place for years. But, you know, when we have 356 kids, 22 homes, we got to have more homes. We have to have more homes. If they release them today, we have no place to put them.